Welcome to the Happiness Roadmap channel, where I'll discuss tools and insights on increasing happiness in areas such as self-acceptance, relationships and dating, managing anxiety and depression, befriending emotions and thoughts, etc. This video covers some background on fear of judgment and then provides steps to overcome it. First off, why do we care about people's judgments? It comes down to fear of rejection. People's judgments of us could lead to our being rejected. Evolutionarily, we are extremely invested in whether people reject us. If we were rejected from our social group, it could lead to disastrous consequences such as being left out of the tribe and starving to death. Even if allowed to stay in the group, it could lead to less access to resources. This was a matter of life and death for our ancestors. On an emotional development level, we look to other people and their judgments to understand ourselves. We start this process as children, where the way our primary caregivers respond to us helps establish our sense of self. As we get older, others' judgments give us feedback on whether we're acceptable within our social groups. Even when survival isn't on the line, being accepted by others can help us in things we want, such as friendships, romantic partners, dream jobs, leadership positions, etc. So, when is fear of judgment a problem? One circumstance is when it is causing distress in situations that do not align with our goals and values. For example, we meet a stranger we have no interest in forming a relationship with, but we become very anxious about what they think of how we look or something we said or did. Another circumstance is a situation we care about, but the distress is higher than is helpful. For example, a little fear of judgment may help us pay attention to the things we say and not offend others, but too much fear of judgment may lead to us not wanting to say much at all and make it harder to build relationships. If that's the case, what are some ways to care less? Step 1. Become aware of the judgment you are afraid of. For example, I'm worried they think I am socially inept. I'll use this example to illustrate the rest of the steps as well. To teach your brain how to use these steps, try to follow along with an example from your own life. Think of a time when you were worried about judgment and identify what judgment you were worried about. Fill in, I was worried they would think I'm blank. It'll help to write this down on paper or a note on your phone. Pause the video here to give yourself time to think through it. Step 2. Remind yourself that we don't actually ever know what someone else is thinking. Also remind yourself of the fact that people make random judgments about people, things, and situations all the time. People make judgments to try to process and categorize the information from the world around them. It's just their way of understanding the world, and judgments do not mean that someone doesn't like you. Try saying these ideas to yourself to help your brain remember it. Pause the video here to say it to yourself out loud or in your head. Step 3. Ask yourself, even if they are actually having the judgment, what parts do I believe are true and untrue about the judgment? Be sure to add nuance, such as how you're different in different situations and with different people, that you're not always a certain way, that you aren't ever the worst at something, etc. Continuing the above example of worries about others judging your social aptitude, you might conclude, when I'm really tired or too anxious, sometimes I can be more quiet than some people would find comfortable. But generally, I'm at least average in my social skills. Try it for yourself. Pause the video to fill in the sentence. The parts that seem true about the possible judgment are. Now pause the video to fill in the sentence. The parts that seem untrue are blank. And now pause the video to answer. What's a more nuanced and accurate statement you could put together? Step 4. Ask ourselves if we can get comfortable with things we agree with. For example, when I'm tired or anxious, I talk less. And that's not such a big deal. That happens for a lot of people. You may be surprised at your ability to accept what you already agree with. Especially if you can provide some self-compassion by reminding yourself it's okay to be imperfect and others experience the same thing. Pause the video to try it out. And then for the parts we don't agree with, ask ourselves if we can get comfortable with others making mistakes in their judgments, for example. We can't control the errors others make, and as long as we know the truth ourselves and try to act according to what's important to us, perhaps it's okay if people misunderstand us sometimes. Pause the video to try these thoughts out. It's difficult to get comfortable with others' judgments because our survival used to depend on it, so be patient with yourself. Next time fear of judgment comes up, practice by coming back here and running through the steps with that specific situation. The more you practice, the better your brain will get at it, and it will become more automatic. There are many more tools for overcoming fear of judgment. I'll be going over others in future videos. If you have any topics or questions you're interested in videos about, leave it in the comments below. I'll also try to reply to as many comments as possible, so feel free to ask questions, share insights, talk about what helped and didn't help from the video. I'll always try to incorporate any feedback.